I've pulled up two videos here, one of Zayn, Louis, and Niall, and another one of Zayn, Louis, and Liam. And I just want to try to get a better idea, potentially, of Zayn and Louis' dynamic, maybe see how Liam and Niall play into the mix. So that's what we're doing today. Guys, if you're new here, I'm Max. I'm a communication skills coach, and on this channel, I react to all different types of people's communication skills. You know what to do. Hit that subscribe button. We're almost at 50,000 subs. Can you believe it? Thanks for tuning in. Let's get straight into the video.
First of all, I love the new fragrance. It's gorgeous. Out of all of you, who was the most hands-on with the scent?
I'd say me, definitely. I was definitely the most hands-on with this. Yeah. What would you say now?
Yeah, I'd say we were.
I right away. These guys give so much away with their facial expressions. Right away, Louis in Niall's space. And I mentioned this in one of my previous videos about Louis. Like, he's very flirtatious. That's his personality, it seems like. That's the best way for me to describe it, is flirtatious. And he just gets right up in your space. It's like you'd have no room to breathe when Louis is paying attention to you. And also, I noticed Zayn, Zayn right away seems just a little bit happier to be there.
No. I did all the groundwork for this fragrance, and I'm going to take full credit.
Okay, well done you.
Thank you.
It's kind of, did you have a particular kind of girl in mind when creating the scent?
I think it was more...
Funnily enough, when you asked me the other day who would be the type of girl who would wear our fragrance, I did say a sexy girl.
You did actually, yeah. So there you go. So it does exactly what it's meant to do.
Exactly.
Okay, cool to see Zayn initiating there. So nice to hear him speak up and answer and feel like he's a part of this conversation, as opposed to someone who's sort of watching the conversation from the outside. Perhaps because there's three of them, it gives Zayn more room to breathe. It gives him more of an opportunity to speak and shine. Or perhaps maybe he just feels comfortable in this particular setting, whether it be, the producers of this interview or being with Louis and Liam, I don't know. But clearly, he's a lot more comfortable here in this interview than I've seen him in many other interviews that I've checked out.
Between your world tour and your new movie and this fragrance creation, you've all got lots on your plate. What is your secret to not driving yourself crazy?
Yeah, and I have a paused on Zayn here. All the signs are showing that he's very interested and engaged in this interview. He's leaning forward, he's smiling, he's listening, he's making eye contact with the interviewer. And Louis, Louis's got Louis's energy. He's got this mischievous look on his face right here. He's ready to crack a joke at any time. The second he sees an opening, he'll crack that joke. And he's sharp. His mind's going at 110% as always. You could just see it.
Just don't take yourself too seriously, I think. Otherwise you'll get swallowed up in this game, I'd say now.
In this game.
Oh, I've seen so many go.
This industry, huh?
It's tough,
And with such a hectic schedule, are any of you guys into things like juicing, detoxing, super healthy living, and are you all gorging on kale?
Yeah, before this question is even being finished, you can see Zayn already answering it in his head. He started his body movement. So he's right in there. And I'm noticing that Louis, a couple times now throughout this interview, he's kind of like went straight to Niall while he's answering a question.
Just don't take yourself too seriously, I think.
Almost to kind of like get him to be a part of the conversation as well. Like, right, Niall? And Niall doesn't really seem to be taking the bait that much. It seems like, I haven't really seen Niall in his head too much, but it seems like he is kind of in his head at this moment.
See, that's what we mean about taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah, there you go.
Just give us some junk food.
Yeah.
And away we go.
Yeah, I can't.
And a play
Those kind of juices actually do offend me. I think.
Yeah.
I'll just fill up. This
weird.
is my meal for the day. I've just got this juice.
They offend me too.
Come on, let's get yourself a burger.
I don't want to read too heavy into this, just because this is just one interaction. But you see, Louis is engaging Niall, it looks like, just a little differently. Whereas with Zayn, like, he's engaging Zayn, but it doesn't feel like he's putting on that like flirtatious charm with Zayn. Like, he's not right up in Zayn's space. Almost as if like there could be a little bit of a wall up. That's just my sense. I'm just calling it sort of how I see it.
Juices actually do offend me. I think
yeah.
I'll just fill up. This
weird.
is my meal for the day. I've just got this juice.
They offend me too.
Come on, let's just get yourself a burger.
But, the interaction between the two of them is nice. It's cordial. It's friendly. it just doesn't feel like brotherly. But that was like their first real interaction. So I don't want to like put a magnifying glass on that one little thing, although I am. Although I am putting a magnifying glass on it because that's what I have to work with. But we'll continue to take a look as this interview goes on. But Zayn seems happy. Like I said, he's right into this interview. He's contributing. He's initiating. He doesn't look like he's outside of his element here at all. They're working well as a team in terms of communicating to this interviewer.
Niall's a bit nervy.
That answers that question.
All four of them do, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
It's okay. You're the cool,
was the
quirky one.
first.
Yeah, I'm really.
Yeah, it's just interesting, just like the point of eye contact. If you look at just the number of seconds that a guy like Louis makes eye contact with you,
All four of them do, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
It's okay. You're the cool,
was the
quirky one.
first.
but Louis really observes you. Harry does too. Harry actually does it in even a more observant way. Like Harry will really look at you and listen to you and observe you, whereas Louis will like look at you and flirt with you and get into your space and like bring his energy into your zone. Anyways, let's go back 15 seconds. I missed that whole interaction thinking about eye contact.
It's okay. You're the cool,
was the
quirky one.
first.
Yeah, I'm really cool, so it doesn't make
Set
a
the
difference.
trend.
He's kooky.
I'm the trendsetter, so it doesn't make a difference.
He's really kooky.
Kooky and quirky.
And quirky. That little interaction there at the end was funny, and Louis just shrugging his shoulders. It's always just positive, fun banter with Niall, isn't it? They've got a cool dynamic. I haven't really seen Louis and Niall's dynamic too much, but they clearly seem like they're good friends and they can kind of connect on that sarcastic level. Niall's smart, especially when it comes to humor. I feel like Niall really picks up humor quickly. But I also notice like Zayn, sometimes he'll speak quietly, like doesn't project his voice, and he'll say a thought that contributes to the conversation, but it's like no one picks up on it. And it seems like they don't hear him, but it also seems like Zayn almost doesn't care for them to hear him. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't make it a point sometimes for his words to be heard.
Yeah.
I'm doing
Yeah.
It's okay. You're the cool,
was the
quirky one.
first.
Yeah, I'm really cool, so it doesn't make a difference.
I think Louis kind of just slightly looked over. I think Louis might have heard him. And maybe Zayn felt a little embarrassed actually that the guys didn't hear him.
You're the cool,
was the
quirky one.
first.
Yeah, I'm really cool, so it doesn't make
Set
a
the
difference.
trend.
He's kooky.
I'm the trend.
That's something a lot of us do, right? We've said things and no one heard, and we kind of like get a little embarrassed, so we do something to make it seem like someone else heard. Another thought that I had in my head though was like, perhaps Zayn, because he does deal with anxiety and because he kind of is in his head and sort of just uncomfortable in some social situations, perhaps he's not as aware of when the other guys are speaking or how engaged other people are in conversation because he's in his own head. So it's harder for him to know when to properly contribute.
And with the X Factor back on our screens, will we be popping by to give Melby and Cheryl a bottle of the new perfume?
Definitely. We should definitely do that.
Spritz it all over them.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
can just keep
yeah.
it on like on
Yeah.
the panel with them. Just keep
They
it
can
there.
just have a
Perfect.
visit, yeah.
Like next to the glass, the water.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely. Yeah. Just a little bit of branding
Just
there.
a shameless plug.
Yeah, Louis seems to definitely be gravitating a little more to Niall, like going to Niall for the answers. Yeah, we should do that, shouldn't we? Looking at Niall. Like Niall and Louis seem to really have this seamless banter going on. It's like a seamless, light banter that's just really easy and funny. Because I've seen it from Zayn. I just don't know if the banter comes as light and easy. It's like harder for him, it seems like, to turn on that light side. It's not at the top of his brain all the time, it doesn't seem like, whereas it is with like Louis and Niall. But again, if you're someone who deals with anxiety, I think it's also more difficult to, have humor at the forefront because you're so, worried about yourself. You're so in your own head. But I'm not an expert on that, so don't quote me.
Do you have a say in the designing of this ring?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Every part of it. Because
Cool.
you can attach that to a chain. You can wear it on your finger. See, we were all over when we were
Yeah.
thinking stuff.
Chain, ring.
Chain's probably the best option, isn't it? Because the ring's quite big.
Yeah, Niall seems to be more into the interview now. As the interview's picked up, he's kind of opened up. Maybe Louis brought that out of him, but he seems to be having fun now.
I don't know what
is
you're
it?
talking
I've got
about.
fat fingers.
Yeah. Niall.
That's not fair, is it?
It's not so.
And lastly, so You've obviously
And just those little remarks that Niall makes, like Louis picks up on everything, right? He hears everything. So Niall will make a little remark, and Louis always making sure to respond to the banter that Niall initiates. You know, even when the interviewer is asking them a question, like Louis' head is in 15 different places at once, right? So he could listen to Niall, exchange the banter, but he's also looking at the interviewer and listening to her. Like, he's everywhere. Louis is everywhere.
Have you ever thought about doing a men's fragrance?
We just spoke about this last one. Maybe unisex. Do they do fragrances that are unisex?
Again, looking at Niall, right? Deferring to Niall.
More appropriate.
Yeah, I think straight down the middle, men's aftershave might not work. I'm not sure, but
Might not.
unisex sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I kind of feel badly for Zayn. I don't know the history and the dynamics, obviously, but kind of include him in the decision making, include Zayn in the conversation. You know, who knows what's going on behind the scenes, and this isn't no fault to Louis or anyone else. It is what it is. So perhaps, you know, Zayn isn't as involved in like the band's decision making processes. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I suppose if you like to smell good, then you should just buy the 1D fragrance, because then you will.
Because I think it's good. I really like it.
I
All our
do.
hard work.
You should
It's
buy
paid
it
off.
because Niall thinks it's good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what Niall says goes.
Exactly. At least they know. At least they know is all I
Yeah.
have to say.
yeah. It's easy for you to say that, isn't it?
Thank you so much for chatting to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Interesting. It didn't seem like Zayn was too effective negatively. Like, I would have probably been a little more effective than Zayn seeing Louis pay all that attention to Niall. But it actually didn't really seem to bother Zayn. So again, maybe that's just normally a part of their dynamic where, you know, the guys aren't really paying attention to Zayn. Maybe they're just kind of used to that, and he's used to that because he's quieter, because they know they might not get as much out of him in an interview. They've just sort of been conditioned not to look at him. Anyways, let's check out one more. The next clip is with Louis, Zayn, and Liam.
Good to see you, lads.
Good to see you
too.
mate.
Can I just say, I may not wear short denim shorts and have blonde hair to my shoulders, but I'm in on album 4. I'm in.
Liam's not feeling that joke off the bat. He's like assessing this guy. It's like, all right, buddy, we get it. Like, we have fans that are girls. Yes, we get it.
So you like the album, do you?
I do Fireproof, my jam. Spotify, in the gym.
Jam.
Nice.
I'm in.
Fireproof in the
Love
gym.
that.
Doing bicep curls.
Yeah.
I'm ripping it.
That's a first.
like this.
That's the first
And you
one.
know,
direction.
I'm fine with it.
That's probably the
That's good, man. Like, Louis gives a lot of the interviewers, I've noticed, the benefit of the doubt from the get-go, right? He tries to establish that bond and that rapport with interviewers, I find. Look how, like, into the interview. Same with Zayn. Look at their body language. They're leaning forward, smiling.
Yeah, they make it
Will we
playlist.
be on that album? That's the choice.
Maybe ready to run.
This
Aside from my dad,
album.
actually, my dad might do some bicep curls, listen to our music.
Maybe,
like
maybe.
it.
Ask
Yeah.
him, ask
It's
him
a
next
strong
time you
album.
see him.
Your dad is shredding. He's ripping.
Look at Zayn there engaging Louis, you know? It seems like they actually feel a little more comfortable together in this interview. But look at Zayn engaging, like touching Louis, engaging him. Like, it actually seems like Zayn does want Louis' attention. He does want his, you know, affection and his just that bond. That's what it does seem like. Even in the last interview, although Louis wasn't really paying too much attention to Zayn, Zayn seemed to really be looking at Louis, and he clearly has an admiration for Louis.
I got in a headlock somewhere along the line.
Yeah, it
I was in a
does- it
photo
does get
and
physical.
I managed to get in a headlock.
Interesting. Was that a? Was it? It's hot. It's
It's like a
sweaty.
friendly headlock.
Since we've been in this band, we've been taught self-defense of how to, you know,
Yeah. Get out.
we just
Slip
we
it.
end up the other side.
Right. I'm glad you learned those techniques.
Thank you.
But
You taught.
I did. I'm glad you remembered.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I think Zayn wants to bond with these guys. You look at his body language, he's not disengaged most of the time when these guys are speaking. Like, he's into what they're saying. He wants to appreciate them. He wants to see the good in them. That's the sense that I get. I don't know that for sure, but that's the sense that I get, that he wants to see the good in these guys. And I think that's why a lot of people kind of feel bad for Zayn, because it's like, maybe that's what they're feeling. It's like, yeah, like, he wants the best for you. He's looking, so why don't you reciprocate it back? So maybe that's where some of that, like, frustration comes from some of the fans. I don't know.
But the thing is, like, when you guys are down there, and unfortunately we don't see you guys so often, so there's so many screaming girls who are going to wait outside your hotel room and stuff. Do you get away and just get to do something crazy and spontaneous, like Channing Tatum?
You see this with Liam from time to time. Like, he'll like be like really not into an interview in 1 second, and then the next second he'll be like really into it and he'll be engaged and he'll contribute to the banter. Him and Louis, he's like, his comfort zone in an interview is with Louis. Like Liam loves Louis and he's always looking to joke with Louis. Feels a little darker when he jokes around with Louis than it does when Niall jokes around with Louis. Right? I feel like I sense that Liam's got a little bit of a darker side in him. But you see him sometimes, it's very obvious when Liam's not engaged, and it's very obvious when he is engaged. And that might be a little harder for Zayn to contend with, because Liam, when he does get into something, when he does become engaged, him and Louis have this really strong dynamic that could potentially sort of take away from Zayn having a dynamic or an interaction with the rest of them.
Wow, did he actually do that?
With Jonah Hill.
Last time,
Sick.
one of the first times you were here, we had one of the craziest experiences of our life. Remember when we like ran out of the hotel and we got chased down the road here in Australia?
And it looked like Zayn, it was hard to tell, but it looked like Zayn was trying to engage Liam. Liam wasn't looking at Zayn, he wasn't really making eye contact with them. And it actually took a few seconds for them to stop speaking once Zayn started speaking. But, you know, it looks like he's trying to engage Liam. Louis, you know, acknowledging him, nodding his head like he's into the story, it looks like. Let me go back just to see Louis.
One of the first times you were here, we had one of the craziest...
Yeah, Louis looked at Zayn for a second, then he kind of turned, but he didn't shift his body. It still feels like, for whatever reason, there's like a little bit of a wall. I don't know what it is, but I'm sensing that in this point in their careers, it doesn't feel like, not that there's bad blood, it just doesn't feel like Louis is as close with Zayn. It feels like Zayn might want it, but it doesn't feel like Louis is like reciprocating it as much for whatever reason.
I don't want to be a blooper. I mean, I'm not the greatest surfer.
How
I'm
about
trying my
this?
best.
In February, I have a secret spot. I grew up on the ocean. I'll take you guys for a surf. I promise no helicopters.
Is there anything you can't do?
There's really not.
Right.
If you got anything you think I can't, I'll swallow a freaking pebble. I won't.
I'd like to see that.
I'd like to see that.
And this is part of what makes their interviews fun, right? They'll have no problem engaging the actual interviewer, you know, asking them questions back, making it more like a conversation as opposed to a one-sided interview. And that's nice. That's adds to the appeal of these guys. It just makes them feel much more real. It makes you feel like if you got in a room with them and had a chance to interview them, it would feel more like a conversation. They're down to earth. They don't think they're above you, and they demonstrate that by the way they interact with the people who are interviewing them a lot of the time. It's something I tell people all the time when giving presentations. It's like when you give a presentation, the tone of your presentation, in that the tone of your voice, it should feel conversational, right? It shouldn't feel like you're putting on a presenting voice or you're taking on a different persona. And these guys are just very conversational, very real with their approach.
8,500 retweets. He tweeted then, "How did the One Directions find me? I'm just a simple man from New York who makes lamps."
This is the moment we've been waiting for, when somebody tells you they will make you a lamp.
A One Direction
I love
lamp
lamp.
is going to be made in your
But
honor.
that is huge to think about.
I love lamp, I caught that.
He didn't like us to start with, and now he wants us to recognise his lamps. That is huge.
Yeah, like the banter between Liam and Louis, like when Liam engages Louis, it's very personal between him and Liam. Sorry, between him and Louis. When I mean personal, it's like he's speaking at a volume where it's just meant for Louis. It's not meant to engage the group. So it's hard for a guy like Zayn to get involved and add on to the banter and add on to the humor when Liam's just speaking to Louis, right? It makes it difficult for him to get involved. So anyway, so guys, that was interesting. That was interesting. Listen, I don't want to put a microscope on Louis and Zayn's dynamic, although I sort of did. I don't want to draw any conclusions here because I'm sure there's a lot more to the relationship. I know there's tons and tons of footage out there. And I know there was many years before this where they had a real bond. Guys, if you want to watch the uncut version of this video, all you need to do is click on my Patreon link below. I've also got a ton of other One Direction videos uncut on my Patreon page. Other than that, thank you for tuning in. My name is Max. I will catch you soon. Peace.